My name is Salam Abba. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm going to be talking to you about the SDLC. The SDLC, or Software Development Lifecycle, is a process associated with creating systems. So essentially, it's a process that produces software with the highest quality in the lowest cost in the shortest terms. Throughout the SDLC, there's multiple phases, and today I'm going to be explaining those phases to you. The first phase within the SDLC is, in my opinion, where you should start is the analysis phase. In this phase, this is where you gain understanding and familiarity of the current system's operations. So if you're going to implement a new system, the first thing you should do is understand what the current system can do and what you're trying to build. And within this current system phase, you need a context of and a basis for effectively completing the reinvention process. From the current system, you're going to be transitioning to a new system. So with that, you need requirements. And requirements are needs to be met that need to happen in the new system. These run concurrently with the current system, and so when you're developing a new system, you need to be involved with the users so they can tell you, okay, well, I have Microsoft Word, and you have Microsoft XP, and you're trying to upgrade to Microsoft Vista. So with that, you need to work with the users who currently use it so you can understand where you're going in the system. So after you gain an understanding of the current system and you understand your requirements for the new system, you need to go into the verification or quality checking phase, right? This is where you go over your cost runs, you talk about your delivery, how the project cannot end in failure, and what you need to rework during the development of the new system. And from there, you transition to the decision analysis, which is you're designing and revisiting a business case. So a business case is essentially the work order of what needs to be developed. And this also in the decision analysis phase, you help develop new time and budget estimates. You develop a preliminary system approach and you discuss your potential return on investment, and you have a reevaluation and you determine an exit point within the development process. So an exit point meaning, well, once everything's been met and you've done everything that's needed to be done, at what point do we stop developing and we can push this process system out to our new users? The next phase is called detailed design. In this phase, you create detailed specifications of what the new system will be, and create precise instructions and provide sufficient information to the builders to create the new system. And within the SDLC, the most expensive and time-consuming phase is the building and testing phase. This entails the actual construction and testing of the solution or the system, because at the end of the day, the whole reason for this process is that there's a need, and the customer needs to be there's a need, and there's a requirement that needs to be met. These activities go hand in hand because once you're building and testing, they go in hand with detailed design, because when you're going through the process and you're testing and you see, okay, well, this requirement is not being met, you need to go back to your design phase and see what you went wrong, so what you did wrong in your previous phase, so you can proceed with the new one. So after, during the testing phase, you test it to see if the system is necessary and how often it works, and does it meet the design specifications, and most importantly, does it meet the client or the user's needs. Once you determine that the system has met the client's needs, then you're ready for production. One of the phases that need to be implemented is training and implement. Once you develop your new system and you've tested it, and once you develop, build, and test your system, and it's ready to go, now you need to train and implement. So for example, if you were developing a network security tool and you developed it and is monitoring the endpoints on your network, such as a tool as Forescout, you're going to implement it into the network environment. So you're going to add it on to the network, you're going to discover all the devices within the network, and then you're going to train different engineers and analysts and administrators on how to use the tool and how to implement it and how they can use it in their day-to-day activities. So also within this phase, it requires careful planning and preparation to ensure success. You also need to specialize in replacing and updating a new system onto the current system. And training and evaluation is the most important part of this phase because you need to ensure that the system meets the requirements, and you need to ensure that the training is effective so you know how to the users know how to use the system. For my company, a Ramcro, so for my company, a Ramcro, there's two different types of SDLC methodologies that I think will be beneficial. One is more so old, and the other one is new. So the old one is called waterfall. Waterfall, the stages of waterfall is essentially requirements, design, implement, verify, and maintenance. That is when you're going through, you're developing a system, and then you just do everything step by step by step, and you don't move on to the next phase of so let's say you're in the design phase, you're drawing the GUI, you're making sure everything is working well. You don't move on to the implementation phase until that everything in that phase has been completed. So that's why it's kind of been retired, due to the fact that it's kind of a slower process, and it halts other people during the design phase. So if I'm a developer and I'm building the system, everybody who's on the test team is just sitting idle body, waiting for me to do what I have to do so they can test what I've already built. And that's not kind of conducive to an environment where we're trying to meet customers' needs and everybody has their own type of timeline. The best methodology I believe there to be is agile. Agile is rather than you treating requirement design and testing as like large sequential steps. An agile model makes them all ongoing processes that require involvement from developers, management, and the customer. The work is usually broken down into like 2 to 4 week segments called sprints. So when you have a sprint where it's like everybody's testing and you're building at the same time, so it's a more intuitive and it's a more group focused work, so that not only you're not waiting step, okay, build, test, and then implement. There's different aspects of the how do I explain? There's different aspects of the project going all on at once. So there's more work getting done rather than you just waiting step by step. And during this SDLC process, one of the most important things you have to be worried about is the security of your system, because nowadays in 2019 and going onwards, cybersecurity is an ongoing field that is very important to everybody. Everybody wants their information safe and secure. So during this process, you're going to need to ensure that, okay, well, once I build, develop, and test it and train, and I have the information system out in the world, you need to ensure that the tool is secure. So a couple of the things that you can do to ensure security in your system that you develop is that you can execute some penetration testing. So penetration testing is essentially a type of testing where you're actively trying to break the system you created, meaning that you're trying to exploit the different vulnerabilities that may be within the tool, the system that you created. And there's 3 different types of penetration testing. There's black box, white box, and there's gray. Black box penetration testing is when you have no knowledge of the tool that you're going to be testing or trying to break. White box testing is when you have absolute knowledge of what you're going to be testing, and then gray box testing is when you know a little bit of the tool that you're going to be testing, but you don't know everything about it. So those are just some of the 3 different types of testing that you can do and ensure and find out different vulnerabilities within the system you just created. And you need to also implement a risk management process, such as a failover cluster, because if you develop a system and the system goes down, you can't just tell me your business stops running and you have nothing else to produce. So for Aramco, we're gonna have different failover clusters and different hard drives and different protocols in order. So if something happens like a natural disaster or anything like that, we are prepared to keep business operations running at full optimization. And the most important thing you can do with the system is that you can educate users on risk. And that's one of the biggest risks of cybersecurity, because in this field, the users are king. So if the people who are using the system are educated on the different things not to do within the system and what to look for, you have a better chance of keeping your system and your firm secure. Also, in this entire system building phase, it's really a comprehensive process. You need to have different. There needs to be different checking points. There needs to be people who are testing. There needs to be people who are building. That's why it's called system development life cycle. This whole entire life cycle can bring a system from an idea to an actual information system that goes into the field. Also, one of the how much time?
10:52.
10. Also, one
11.
of the things that you need to talk about is a maturity model. A maturity model is a measurement of the ability of an organization to have continuous improvement on a particular discipline. And the higher the maturity, the higher the chances will be that the incidents and errors will lead to improvements. And there's 5 different levels. There's level 1, which is apply workforce practices without analyzing their impact. Level 2 is manage and get managers to take responsibility for managing and developing their employees. Level 3 is define, where you develop workforce competencies and work groups and align them with business strategies. Level 4 is predictable, empower and integrate workforce competencies and manage progress through a defined set of metrics. And level 5 is optimizing, continuously monitoring and improving performance. With everything I talked about today, I hope you choose us for your security measures. Thank you and have a good day.